What's going on, guys? We are back once again with another Infinity Gaming discussion. I am here with LMAOMack. I'm Doublepulse. And today we're going to be talking about 30 FPS versus 60 FPS. When does this actually matter? Because Redfall has been getting some pretty heated debates right here. So I guess I'll start off with you. What do you know about Redfall, and then what is your thoughts on the whole like 30 FPS versus 60?
Well, for one, I've been hearing, I love the concept of Redfall. So it looks like it'll be a pretty good game, especially since it's made by the people that the developers that made Dishonored.
Uh huh.
But I know I've been seeing a lot of backlash on it because apparently it's only gonna be in 30 FPS.
Oh my god.
Now I know a lot of people aren't really gonna like this, especially because it's like have you seen Dishonored?
I know. Yeah, I have seen Dishonored.
Okay, like especially like with how Dishonored looked. Dishonored was a phenomenal game. So from
Mm-hmm.
start to finish.
Yeah.
So I don't know what made them want to go the route of only doing 30 FPS, but I also heard rumors of it being pushed back so they could go over those issues. So I'm not sure. Honestly, I think all games now with the
Mm-hmm.
technology that we have should be 60 FPS or more. Depending on, I say depending on what type of game it is too, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, because we got our games that are cartoony.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But this is, this is a first person shooter. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Majority of those are 60 FPS, and that and it don't go no higher than that unless
And
you
isn't this?
PC.
Yeah. It isn't this. Isn't this multiplayer as well?
Yep, I believe three
It's
player co-op.
that is where I kind of draw the line when it comes to the whole 30 FPS to 60, because I've played games in both 30 and 60 FPS, and I will say like it's a night and day difference, but playing a game in 30 and multiplayer is extremely tough, especially on console, because you're dealing with possible latency issues,
Hmm.
especially with like the fact that the PlayStation 5 and Series X and Xbox consoles, they're now promoting and hyping up the fact that they have 4K 60 FPS visuals. There's like no excuse on that level of being a game being 30 FPS on these platforms, because you turned around and was marketing this system as a next gen system, and for the longest time gamers who have played on consoles have been pretty much stuck with 30 FPS, and now they're getting the experience that PC gaming has had for a long time, and you
Hmm.
expect them to go back to 30 and be like, yeah, man, it feels like it's a backtrack. Like, we can't we can't get this game to run at 60 right now, so we're just gonna release it at 30. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem right to me.
It just seems lazy in my opinion. Like especially with once like you hype these consoles up,
Mm-hmm.
talking about they're gonna do 60 FPS to 120 FPS, and we're
Exactly.
still and I think the only game I played so far that's dropped 120 FPS on their game has been Destiny, but that's only in Crucible too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, what's the problem? You know what I'm saying? You basically trying to build these consoles as if they
Mm-hmm.
were PCs so they can compete with PC players.
Right. And that's another issue too to take in mind too, is that when you look at these games that are releasing with the extra performance mode, and I'm okay with sacrificing a bit of quality just to get a better performance. But
Hmm.
I think at the same time, I have seen a couple of games that went the whole like performance mode, and if you want 120 FPS, you got to drop that back down to like 1080. You're
Hmm.
not going to get 4K at 120 on these consoles. And I mean, I'll probably save this for another video, but the idea of it being true 4K is still kind of in the question.
Yeah.
So the next thing I kind of want to talk about, because Redfall is kind of just only one of the prime examples of a 30 FPS title, is just the idea of when this conversation of FPS really started to matter.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you look at gaming, I want to say 15, 20 years ago, sure, there might have been games running at 60 or 30 FPS, but nobody really talked about FPS that much. You notice
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I believe it was the real hype of games like Halo, Call of
Mm-hmm.
Duty, you know what I'm saying? Then they dropped Destiny, we got Battlefield, you know what I'm saying? When the FPSs really started getting competitive,
Mm-hmm.
like is when they started, I feel when they started like, oh, you know what I'm saying, let's kick it up a notch, you know what I'm saying? Like, Modern Warfare 2. You see how looking back at how Modern Warfare 2 looks,
Yeah.
when we were kids, Modern Warfare 2 didn't look like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Just to be sure, just to clarify, we're talking FPS in terms of frames per second, not FPS in terms of first person shooter, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But
yeah.
you're right. Like both, it's funny because both in the game quality and FPS,
Hmm.
they never
They,
looked that way.
yeah, but now it's like they go hand in hand now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Shoot, because
And with
like,
every, yeah,
but it's like with age, you know what I'm saying? You want things to look better, move faster. You know what I'm saying? So you can get that better quality out of the game.
mm-hmm.
Shoot, when we were younger, we didn't even care about that. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
Like when I see videos how low the frame rates were
Mm-hmm.
on old style Call of Duty or Halo and all that stuff, I was like, dang. When I was young, I swear it didn't look like that. It looked way better than that. But I guess that's just how it looked.
Oh,
It's the
the
what's called
mine,
how like your
your
imagination.
imagination, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I
Rose
mean.
tinted glasses, just
Yeah,
putting on it. You're like, oh my god, this game
you know,
looked great back in the day.
because like it also brings you to how immersed the game would have you. You know what I'm saying? How the game would have you. You know what I'm saying? You how immersed you were into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's microtransactions and stuff, you know what I mean? Like, shoot, back then they actually cared about the content, so we didn't really focus on how the game looked.
Yeah.
But now there's such a lack of content, at least they could do is make the game look good.
Right. And I'm not even, and it's weird you bring that up because that doesn't even necessarily constitute or directly correlate to the performance of the game. I think
Mhm.
it's just the fact that times were just so different back then.
Yeah.
And now that the stakes are higher in terms of technology and what they have been putting into the content, it almost
Hmm.
feels like there's no excuse. I mean, even in PS4, like when you're playing games on PlayStation 4, most games on PlayStation 4, with the exception of first person shooters, were still at 30 FPS, even sometimes sub 30. So you're
Hmm.
sitting here and now you're giving experience to, console players who may not have ever gamed on PC or
Hmm.
they're like, wow, this is what really a true 60 FPS experience is, and then you're turning around and taking that and stripping it away from them is
Hmm.
kind of like a slap in the face.
Right.
But if you look back on, like we talked about, exceptions to the rule, as I want to put it, where you have
Hmm.
games that are cartoon or like cartoonized, or third person shooters, or any sort of game that doesn't really rely heavily on multiplayer or quick reflexes.
Hmm.
I feel like that is sort of the exception to the rule where 30 is kind of okay. Like it's playable, but it's not going to be, you know, as good as 60.
Right.
Would you say that is kind of like that? Like, what are kind of some of the few exceptions to what you believe are good at 30 versus a 60 FPS experience?
I say, mm, like I said, it depends on the game. Like God of War, you know what I'm saying, the old style, how the old style of God of War.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We had God of War, we had Prince of Persia, Tomb Raider, you know what I mean? Even Borderlands, you know what I'm saying? Just like that style, the styles of those that the developers chose for those games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when you're, you know, I mean, how can I how can I really put this? Like I would like it's not bad for you know what I'm saying all games, but I feel like if you're doing a first person shooter, people want that you know what I'm
Right.
saying
Quick reaction
quick
time.
quick. You know
But
what
if
I'm
it's just
saying?
yeah, but if it's
But
like
if it's
a third person game.
yeah, then I could see it being perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because that's not gonna matter. But if you're talking about a game that has online capabilities and stuff like that, you playing with your friends, like people want it to be quick. I
Hmm.
mean, just look at what they did with Dead Island.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They remade Dead Island 2. You know what I'm saying? That game looks freaking phenomenal compared to how it looked way back the original released. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just feel like you know what I'm saying, increase that real quick, that
Increase that
FPS real quick.
FPS, please.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to kill some vampires in
Hmm.
60 FPS. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Shoot, not 30 where I feel like I'm playing back on early PS4 days or like PS3 or something. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There
So.
are also, I think what I also find fascinating, and this is coming from somebody who started playing games on a Steam Deck, and I have been playing games on the Steam Deck. I have a Nintendo Switch,
Hmm.
and what's interesting about the Nintendo Switch is you're really getting. I don't want to knock on it too much, but
Hmm.
because you have to understand when you look at what you're given in these devices, you're okay with making compromises. But
Hmm.
like you would get a subpar experience if you were playing, say, a game like this on a Nintendo Switch because of the power and just the fact that, a 30 FPS game. But a
Right.
game like, Legend of Zelda doesn't necessarily need to be at 60, but it would be
Hmm.
cool.
Right.
And games like that are perfect for just 30 FPS, and
Hmm.
you're willing to make compromises and understand it based off the product that you have.
Hmm.
Like one of the big ones that has been hitting lately as a good medium, and I see this a lot even with the PlayStation 5, is that if you want 4K visuals or 1440p visuals and you want them to look clean, the sweet spot tends to be about 40 FPS. It's
Hmm.
not quite 60, but it's not quite 30.
Hmm.
And then if you have a TV that has like a variable refresh rate, you are kind of looking at a very good experience. Like I started playing not Last of Us, even though I am playing that on PC, and that is, oh my god, I don't even want to talk about that. Um, but I've been playing the Uncharted. I tried the Uncharted game on
Oh
PlayStation
yeah.
5 at a 4K. I think it was like it's 4K 30 or 4K at 40 FPS. But if I
Hmm.
wanted to ramp that up to say 120 FPS, it downscales it all the way back to 1080. And
Hmm.
I'm like, well, I still want the quality of sharp, clean 4K images, but I don't necessarily want the 30 FPS experience. So
Hmm.
that sweet spot. And I mean, even the Steam Deck has kind of got me to appreciate playing games at lower resolutions again. So as long as I can hit that 30 to 40 FPS pretty stable,
Hmm.
that's a compromise I'm willing to accept. But if you're just gonna sit here and you got the next gen systems, PlayStation 5, Xbox, and you don't have a performance mode, you're doing it all wrong. Like give us
Yeah.
give us that 60 FPS buttery smooth at at minimum. So
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. That's
uh,
facts though.
that is
So
facts.
I
Do you
mean,
have
I hope
any
that.
Yeah. Do you have
Uh,
anything like a video you wanted to show us, or no? Or do
no,
you think we
not the. I
covered
think we
everything?
covered everything. So I will just say I hope that they just reevaluate it before they drop Redfall,
I hope so.
and hopefully they change that up. So I mean, the game looks like it'll be good, but I mean, of late we've had a couple games that look of promise, and they've just been
Kind of mediocre.
so yeah. So we'll just see. So what?
J-
Redfall drops May 2nd.
Apparently, is it a co-op game, or is it
Uh huh.
more
Yeah, it's gonna be a
PvP?
co-op first person shooter.
Do they have
So
PvP aspect to it, or no?
they haven't said so, but if that's not a feature in there, I feel like if the game is successful, they will implement something like that in the future.
Hmm.
So we'll just have to wait and see on that aspect.
All right, sounds good. Well,
Mhm.
I think we pretty much covered this video. We covered everything we wanted to say about Redfall 30
Mhm.
versus 60 FPS. It's been a topic that has been beaten to death by many content creators, and I feel like 60 FPS should be the minimum going forward.
Mhm.
But I'm Double Pulse. This is LMAO Mac. This has been Infinity Gaming, and we are signing out. Just feel free to click another video or check something out, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yep. Catch y'all on the next one, you guys.
Peace.